Alright guys, this week we're talking about 60 card Lightsworn. Let's get into the profile.
Alright, getting into it, we have the standard 2 Judgment Dragon, 1 Lumina, 1 Gragnith. This card is seeing a little bit more play because people are playing Glorious Illusion now, and we'll get to that later, but it's kind of like Shady Call of the Haunted, so it's actually not terrible with this card. 1 Garroth, because we're running 60 cards, so we kind of need more names. 2 Aaron, because it comes up more than you think. 2 Arcus, really good against frogs, turns out. 2 Jane, 3 Lila's becoming more staple. 3 of this card, unfortunately, that always ends up in your hand, worse than Titanial. 3 Celestia, 3 Raikou, 3 Hamster, that's in like everything nowadays. Honorary Lightsworn, things that you want to mill, and Gores. Alright, we got the 2 Gold Sarks to search out your Judgment Dragons, which you need because you run 60 cards. Let's see, Charge, Recharge, Heavy Cold Wave. We kind of need extra copies of things because we're running 60 cards. Foolish Burial, Card Destruction is kind of your only extra draw that we could really run. These are kind of our extra Beckoning Lights, essentially. Glorious Illusion. So you might not know what this card does. It's a Call of the Haunted for specifically Lightsworn monsters, and at the end phase it mills an additional 2 cards. So you can bring back like a Wolf or a Celestia and actually get mills off of it. Also end phase you can activate it, bring back a Lightsworn, mill 2 for the Lightsworn, and mill 2 for the Glorious Illusion. So in this deck it's pretty decent. Lightsworn Barrier is only really seeing play in this. You barely draw into monsters sometimes as it is, and you need to protect the ones that you actually have, otherwise you're never pulling it off. Similar here with the 3 Threatening Roar, 3 Beckoning Light, 1 Call of the Haunted. And then the reason why I run 60 cards is Fiend Comedian. So Fiend Comedian essentially is you flip a coin and call it. If you call it right, you can banish your opponent's graveyard. If you call it wrong, you mill cards equal to the cards in their graveyard. So if they have, 20 cards, 15 cards in their graveyard, you can mill up to 15 cards, which in this deck is not a huge deal to do because you're running 60 cards. Alright, our extra deck's kind of standard. Catastor, Android, Urukizaz comes up in almost all Lightsworn decks nowadays. Tempest Magician, because you can make it with Lila and Plague. Brio, Goyo, Fairy, Black Rose, Stardust, Light End. This guy that you can't make, but it's just already in the extra deck. Thought Ruler, Colossal, Mistworm. And then because I actually didn't have like 85 matching sleeves, our side deck is fairly short at 2 Cyber Dragon, 2 Shiny Black Sea, a Giant Trunade, and a Mystical Space Typhoon, and then we've also got the Chimera Tech Port. Alright, so as far as Lightsworn combos, this stuff should be fairly obvious to a lot of people, but I'm going to go into some of the obvious stuff and some of the not so obvious. So starting off with Hamster. Hamster obviously can get you Raikou, but you can get a lot of good pluses off of it. If they attack the Hamster, it flips. It special summons a set Raikou, and whether this dies or not, next turn, hopefully you can flip the Raikou, pop a card, and then tribute it for Celestia, which obviously is a Lightsworn monster, so you get Celestia's effect to pop a bunch of cards. Similarly, you can use Glorious Illusion as a Shady Call of the Haunted to kind of do the same thing. You can Glorious Illusion any Lightsworn, even if you have, just the Raikou from the previous play, and tribute it for Celestia, so Glorious Illusion makes Celestia more live. Something else that you can also do is stuff like if you have a Lila, right? You can switch it to pop a back row. This is assuming you already have the Lila, right? So you switch it to pop a back row, then tribute it for Celestia, popping 2 more cards, and then you can Glorious Illusion, if you haven't had it set already, the Lila to pop another card. So there's a lot of just plays that Glorious Illusion enables because you're a normal Summon Reliant deck, more so than you would think outside of Judgment Dragon. And then the other thing I just wanted to bring up, besides the obvious, like Fiend Comedian is good with Wolf, which I think is pretty obvious, right? It's also really good with Gragnith. You can bring it back with Glorious Illusion or Call of the Haunted or, distribute it, right? And if you Fiend Comedian and you have, a bunch of different Lightsworn names already in graveyard, this thing can get really big. He gains 300 attack and defense for each different named Lightsworn in the graveyard, and he has Piercing. So, like, Glorious Illusioning this back and attacking into a Raikou, sometimes you don't even care that Raikou pops this or the Glorious Illusion, just because you hit for 2,800 piercing over a Raikou, which is obviously pretty significant in a format where sets are a little more common than in most.
Alright guys, that was HydroPump's 60 card Lightsworn list. Probably nowhere near as good or consistent or really anything as Christiasworn. The Fiend Comedian tech is really cool and seems like it would be really good for the deck, especially in a 40 card version, but there's just too many bricks. You're running 3 Wolf, you're not able to side deck, you know, even with my 6 card side deck, obviously you should probably run more, but there's no way you're seeing any of your side deck cards. You're not seeing anything consistently enough. You have to mill every single turn or you lose, and there's so many cards like Gragnith, like Glorious Illusion, like Lightsworn Barrier that can just be dead in so many matchups. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video.